You friends, today we are going to speak about the topic if the salt loses its saltiness. Salt is an important ingredient in our daily lives. We cannot imagine a life without salt, without the taste of salt. Please view and subscribe my channel, and I hope and pray that it's a blessing for each one of you. So salt comes from the Latin word sal. Salary also comes from the same word. And it was a valuable commodity used in the earlier times as a currency for trading. It's also used for tanning, dyeing, bleaching, and production of pottery, soap, chlorine, and widely used in the chemical industry. Salt is used many times, referred in the Bible, and yes, it is not so easy to understand. So let us see what does Bible speak about salt. Matthew 5:13, Jesus says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is henceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men." Here it speaks about we should become the salt of the earth and we should be widely used in the earth. We will meditate further how that will happen. Colossians 4:6 says, "Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how you ought to answer every man." We need to speak with a little seasoning of the salt. That is what this verse teaches us. We know in salads, in green salads, how it is important to be seasoned with salt, a little salt, but not too much. Mark 9:49 says, "For every one shall be salted with fire, and every sacrifice shall be salted with salt." Leviticus 2:13 also speaks about the offerings in the earlier times which God had commanded. "And every oblation of thy meat offering shall thou season with salt, neither shall thou suffer the salt of the covenant of thy God to be lacking from thy meat offering. With all thine offerings thou shalt offer salt." Here it talks about the offering of salt as commanded by God. Salt is the best preservative man has found, and it helps make things remain fresh for a longer period of time. And the covenant of salt speaks about it should not be broken and it has to be followed continually. Salt is the simplest ingredient that easily gets dissolved in water, and it is most important and vital part of cooking methods in any region we go across. Without salt, the food is tasteless. It is another symbol of God's love for us. That is an everlasting love. And we know how salt brings flavor to the food we eat. So, how are we the salt of the earth? It is not salt which adds the flavor, but salt helps in breaking the cell walls in the vegetables, fruits, and meats, which further helps us to enjoy the natural flavor of the food we eat. When these cells break up, they release the uniqueness of the ingredients and the fresh aroma which helps us each day in the cooking process. We women are As women, we greatly are aware of the importance of salt in our day to day lives. That is what the Bible talks to us about and teaches us to have our lives, our talks seasoned with salt, which will help us to live peacefully and in harmony with everyone. Jesus teaches us that we are the salt and the light of the earth. The importance of salt and light in our lives is easy to understand. In the earlier times, light was not available to our forefathers so easily. But now, without light, it is not possible to go ahead. It is such an important, useful in our lives. Salt helps in preserving, pickling food for a longer time. It adds great taste to our food. It is the essential part of cooking. Any kitchen without salt is of no standing. Any dish without it is not appreciated. It is common to every household, rich or poor. Status doesn't stand up here. So, what does it teach us? We need to be salt of the earth. We need to be easily available to preach the gospel to everyone around us. Our lives should be a living testimony which adds taste to the tasteless situations in life. We need to live in harmony and peace with everyone as salt gets dissolved. It is not about status, it is about sharing the love of God to everyone around us. And when we will be a blessing to others, God will bless each one of us. That's what Bible teaches us. To have our conversations especially seasoned with salt. To speak kind words, to be polite to each other, to understand each other's needs, to be compassionate towards one another, to have a humble attitude in life. Salt is one of the cheapest commodities and it is easily available everywhere and anywhere we go and anytime. We need to be easily available. Anywhere, anytime, there would be someone who needs an encouraging word from us. Maybe at office, maybe on the way, someone may need a helping hand from our end. Someone may need a smile. A smile doesn't cost anything, but it is contagious. It spreads very fast. We need to show our care and love to our near and dear ones. It will be a blessing to our lives, and our future generations will also learn the same thing from our end. The most important quality of salt, which is essential part in human lives, which the essential part it plays is its healing properties. For a runny nose, for a sore throat, a salt water gargle sorts everything in quick time. If there is any body pain, it can be eased with a salt water massage in the affected area with a cotton cloth. You can try it all the time. All the time it is successful than any of the costly medicines available in the market. However, we need to be careful that the right amount of salt is added in our food for it to become delicious. Excess salt or not enough saltiness deteriorates the quality of the food prepared. Same way in our lives, we need to speak politely, kindly. Our conversations must always be seasoned with a bit of salt. It should encourage, benefit, and motivate others rather than pull or push them down. We need to be available freely to spread the gospel anytime, anywhere, and speak our hearts out to bring joy in someone else's life living near us. When God uses us more and more, we can further stand up for Him. When God sees our intentions, our faithfulness in small things, in small field, He entrusts us a bigger field. He enlarges our territory and builds us up, trains us, and equips us to bless others more and more. Our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, friends, and be a blessing to everyone as per the blessing of Abraham in the Bible. God told Abraham that I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. And in you all families of the earth will be blessed. Your children will be as the stars in the sky and as the sand in the seashore. This is a great blessing, and when we trust in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, God will make this blessing to flow in our lives as well, friends. So we need to make sure that we know about salt in our lives, in our spiritual lives, in our everyday walk. Some food are already salted and we need to be careful. Great chefs don't prefer the food which is served to them without enough salt. Without salt, the chemical industry would not stand. Now we see here about Lot's wife. Because of the sin of the land and sin in the people, God decided to destroy the city of Sodom and Gomorrah because of its sins. However, there was a righteous man, Lot. God decided to save his family by sending his angels and asked them to leave the place before the fury of God would fall on them and fire from heaven would fall. However, while running, the angels warned Lot's family not to look back. Not to look back to the world. Not to look back to the sinful city. However, Lot's wife turned back and was turned to a pillar of salt. Turned to a useless statue. To a lifeless form. She lost her life to the fire falling from heaven. Along with her, all the city and the sinful people were being killed by fire from heaven. Lot's life was saved. However, Lot's wife looked back to the worldly desires and was turned to a pillar of salt. So let us ponder upon our lives and let us follow the example of Jesus Christ from the Bible. He follows and He follows he followed the path of the cross, and he asks us to take up our cross and follow him. And he promises an everlasting life to each one of us. So may God help us to not lose our saltiness in these times. May God bless each one of us by this message. Be blessed.